Dennis,
Yes.
can I just say something about the elephant?
Yeah.
Elephants are, this goes back to diet now, the elephant diet though. Elephants are ecosystem engineers. So, as you say, they eat, they browse, they eat grass, they browse trees and shrubs, etc., and they recycle the nutrients. If you have what is too many elephants? The problem with Botswana and the Kavango Zambezi is that in the past, they didn't have corridors, those historic corridors that were open to elephants' ancestral routes that they follow. They follow ancestral routes. They're highly intelligent. So they would go from Botswana to Angola, to Namibia, to Zambia, to Zimbabwe. But what have humans done? They've stuck up fences and created fenced
Barriers.
off areas, which cause chaos in their ecology and their behavioral ecology. Look, elephants are so big, they don't like a fence. They'll walk over it or tramp it down. You won't stop an elephant. But the point is that you'll stop smaller species like the lion, so you can have a whole disrupted ecosystem, and the grazers, the antelope, etc. Stop them. So one of the main things about the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, which includes all those countries in Botswana, is to open up ancestral routes for wildlife and to remove the mines from the war-impacted areas in Angola, from bush war there, and to allow these animals to follow these ancestral routes. The problem is now there's so much poaching and wildlife crime in the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area that the poachers, the syndicates, come in with helicopter gunships, and they take out whole herds at a time, chop out their tusks and they're away. The same goes with the rhino, etc. And so you've got a big problem. So that threat has to be confronted, and we're setting up an organization to confront that. Okay, but I'm digressing from the topic, but I just put that in terms of the critical importance of keystone species, like elephant, like the trees, like the plants and shrubs that are critically important for the ecology of that particular ecosystem. Now, we have, in terms of our diet, we have to realize our place within nature, in terms of what nature can afford, what nature can sustain.
All
Anyway,
right. Thanks so much. We've got to try and sort of balance it, Neil. To Curt, if you have any input.
Well, first of all, Neil, I appreciate your broad knowledge and understanding of the ecosystem, especially in Africa, which it certainly translates to what's happening here as well. Diane and I live in South Florida, fairly close to what used to be the Everglades, and now they're the ever problems. Because as you know, and your example of sugar, sugar barons have taken over Central Florida and completely restructured the Everglades to the point where the runoff from Lake Okeechobee can't go naturally into the Everglades and clean itself. It's now being pushed out by canals to the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean, full of fertilizers and other chemicals, as you can imagine, and human waste, which has created toxic blooms and toxic algae and inability to swim on what used to be the country's most pristine beaches. Not only that, but now they're holding hostage the Everglades for huge amounts of money. And they're saying, if you want our land back, then you pay us. And there's a family. I think it's just a couple. The Fan Jewels, among others, that are billionaires, and they get, it's about money. You want to, and not only that, but the industry still gets subsidies. Why the government needs to subsidize the sugar industry, which is one of the most profitable industries in the world. On top of that, they burn their fields, they create smoke and pollution. It's just one thing on top of the other. And a lot of it is based on the habits of humans, which we're delving into from different angles here. The desires for humans that create these habits. I want sugar. I want meat just because it's something that I've been accustomed to, and it's been part of my life and culture or whatever. And they'll even use their culture or their ethnicity as an excuse for why they continue to do it. And as you well understand, not only does not only has this affected the ecological system, but the mentality of this country is so split now between, you can't tell me what I need to do, but we're showing you what's sustainable for us to live. And the government is not supporting sustainability on any level. In Florida, there are probably, I can think of 6 or 8 different major threats to our water supplies, and nothing is being done about it. Never mind the encroachment of the sea into Fort Lauderdale and Miami, and the inability to even keep their cities above water and without sewage flowing into the streets. Pipelines going across aquifers. They've been drilling for oil and fracking surveys in the Everglades, not far from where I sit. But I think you get where I was heading with that. So the solution has to be so much more. And as we know from, and Neil, you did mention, the crime syndicates that are after fast and large profits. This is what's driving the world and the movers and the shakers right now. At the beginning of this COVID virus, the first thing that the U.S. government did was infuse $1.5 trillion into Wall Street. We have infrastructure needs, we have healthcare needs, we have hospital needs, we have all the things that you can imagine. And what was the first thing? Let's take care of the rich people to protect them from having to pay up and own up for the destruction that they've done to feed our habits. So as we look at this system, one of the things that came up as both Dennis and Neil were speaking was that our relationship to our food supply is basically, people understand the food chain to be. And as you were saying earlier, Dennis, that we are what we eat. If not only that, but we are also what our food has eaten, whether it be animal or the plant supply. And as we start to go back a few generations, and not only what they've eaten, but how it was harvested. And of course, that a stressed out animal or a caged animal will produce different food and different quality nutrients than one that's free range. So most of us don't go back to that level. Vegans don't need to go back. I just don't participate in the food supply on that level as far as animals. However, unless we eat organic, unless we know the farmers that have grown it, unless we know that they know the history of their land and blah, 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 blah. And most people don't want to think beyond, what is it going to take for me to survive in this? Leave me alone. I can't think more than that. And I don't blame them. Neil mentioned that we are a select few in our awareness and our ability to understand and express the need to change. However, it's a big struggle, and the system is against us. Whether it's China, whether it's multinational conglomerates, whether it's Nestle saying water is not a human right, you can just go on and on about this. So the civilization of the world and the civilization leading us to the sixth mass extinction is not set up to win for humans and other living things. So that's what we're up against. And can we make our little difference in our own little worlds, in our backyards, and our little tribes, our communities? Yes. And can we grow that into something that can impact the flow and trend of the world? Let's stand that we can. And the other option is there is no other option. So whether we choose it or not, it's choosing us. Either we participate in, as you know, Dennis, helping save our world, or we participate in watching the world die in front of us and saying, gee, too bad, wish it were different. So lots of comments that came to me from this discussion, so I appreciate it. It is, as you know, critical to our survival. So if you want to help save the world, understand your damn food supply first, and then you'll have something vested, because we all need to eat. And if you understand, as we're seeing, look, people can't even think about not having toilet paper. We have a worldwide epidemic. It's like toilet paper is the most important thing. It's like, okay. So we have a lot of education, a lot of shifting of understanding of belief systems and habits and the mega trends that exist in the world. And, maybe what we need is the slap across the face of COVID-19 and the slap across the face of China and the slap across the face of Donald Trump and the slap across the face of dictators and autocrats around the world to say, we're not going to take it. It just doesn't work, and I don't like where you're going, so get out of here. Okay, I turn my soapbox, but also our communication challenge, because I get that we all stand from this point here, and it continues to be, what actions can we take to continue the ripple effect outward of sustainability and awareness and commitment to a life worth living.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Curt. That's brilliant stuff. Okay, Diane, can I just interject for a second, and then it's yours, okay? You don't mind? There's some amazing things with this COVID-19 and all of the supermarket shelves getting like depleted and China shutting down, and then of course products aren't coming in. Think about that. America, because of its monoculture agriculture, this green revolution, has put itself in a very precarious place, because basically you have a desert. You can't eat sugar alone and survive. You cannot just keep on eating corn or whatever it is and be healthy. Basically, what they have done is they have taken all of the variety of agricultural products, and they've displaced that to 1,800, 2,000, maybe 3,000 miles away. And that all gets transported in and then gets distributed. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a situation like this where the whole transport system just shuts down. Everything shuts down. Where's your food coming from? You're living in a city that's a desert. There's no food there. Outside your city, you have a desert. There's no food there. What have you done to yourself? You need biodiversity to survive. And you've basically given away your right to have a multitude of different plants and species and give yourself all the vitamins and minerals you need. And you've given it away by what you spend your money on to buy from these corporations who have monopolized and controlled the land for so long. That can be at the tipping point, the moment where civilizations, just like everyone says, screw you, and that's it. You don't have a home in the city because you cannot survive in a desert. You have to go back to the land, and that's what's happened throughout history. If you want to survive, you have to create sustainable food-growing ecosystems of biodiverse nature to give yourself the health and the happiness and the sustainability for yourself and your families, and of course for nature itself. And it literally takes, all it could be is the COVID-19. It doesn't have to be the loss of or the no more fossil fuel, or no more gas, or no more, or the economy collapses. It can be a multitude of different things that can happen. But bam, overnight, you're screwed. And you don't have time to then say, okay, well, I'm going to go out and grow some food. In 3 months, you're dead. All right? And it takes like 3 or 4 months to grow food enough for you to eat. And then it takes 13 years to grow trees and to get your fruit and your vegetables and everything that, I mean, other fruits and food forests and so on. So.
Well, these are very interesting conversations, and Curt, you did a great job of really nailing the processes of Florida and different politics. So thank you for that. That was really good. You know, I, being an Earthian, want the planet to have the biodiversity. And I'm hoping that these big agricultural places that are producing our masses of food will understand how they've killed the soil and, get back into the biodiversity. I don't know if I really buy into the vegan totally, because I think chickens are really good. I think that they're needed to help the ecology of the dirt to grow the food. Personally, I don't think that all the sugar that is put into everything, I think that's a real tragic, because so many people now just don't have consciousness about when they go to the grocery store and they buy products, of the sugar and the additives and the colors and the different things that are put into the foods. And if everybody would just change the way they eat and not buy those products, then they won't be put on the shelves, because it's not going to be a money-making thing. So, I hate that our world is based on the economy, and I don't know how to change that other than to take care of yourself individually. I'm personally trying to find more local growers so that I don't have to really buy everything from the grocery store. So I'm going to Urban Farming Institute. I found a place that you can go where they're doing natural things in bulk, where you can get your spices. I think it's in Coral Springs. And I found 2 other places that actually have organic foods that they're growing hydroponically. Because I find that going to one place, they don't have enough things to sell to give me all the things I need. So I'm hoping that there'll be more local growers in the cities and urban areas, and and more biodiversity in the farms, so that we can get the planet back in shape, that it's going to support us, and we'll be healthy and happy.
Diane, you're out in Central Broward, are you? So I'm sure you remember Tree Huggers up on Flamingo Road, the organic farm over there. They closed about 2 or 3 years ago. The guy sold it to a palm nursery that was just behind him, with the promise that they would maintain the land in perpetuity as organic and clean. But they were organic farms, started about 7 or 8 years ago, and just for whatever reason, maybe just a business model or their capabilities.
I don't know if Curt's going to come back. All right, so as soon as he comes back, I'll let him continue. So Diane, you brought up an amazing thing. I hate that the world is based on our monetary economy, and you don't know what the alternative is. Well, the real economy of the world is the sun shines, the plants grow, we eat the plants, we grow. So the real economy is the natural economy, the energy in the water as it transitions down through the land, the growing of plants. That is the economy. What we've done is we've created this abstract idea that money represents energy, which is basically what our economy is based on. So we've created this abstract idea that money is the economy, all right, or the basis of the economy. But in actual fact, that's a lie. It's an abstract idea. It's not fundamentally true. The real economy is we can't eat paper. We can only eat that which is grown in nature. So that is the natural economy. So that's an amazing thought. What do? Well, we have to grow our own food. So this, the other one was, which Curt brought up, which is really, really important, was subsidies. The original idea of subsidies for farmers was for small mom and pop farms when they went through rough times to get a subsidy to keep them going so that they could replant their fields and so on and survive. But corporations took that concept and they then, of course, used these subsidies to buy up more land and to create bigger and bigger this Green New Deal and produce huge amounts of corn or whatever. And there was a trade agreement between Canada and Mexico and the United States. Can't think of it right now, the actual name of it. But basically, the trade was for agricultural products going to Mexico. And I worked as a captain on a ship, on a yacht, for a guy who owned 21 ships, a Spanish guy who ran these ships taking corn down into Mexico. Now, ecosystems where humans are part of the ecosystems, they they literally have, I mean, people living on the land in Mexico, that was the way it was. So they had their own species of animals, they had their own species of plants, and their own species of different types of corns, and so on and so on and so on. So there was this incredible integration of human life with all of these other species of life, and the perpetuation of those seed lines and those animal species lines. Then what happened is, with the subsidization and the dumping of cheap corn onto the markets in Mexico, the people on the land could not compete. So now they couldn't sell their goods, they couldn't sustain their lives, and of course they migrated into Mexico City. And they were driven off the land as well by force, with militaristic regimes and so on as well. And then of course those areas then became monocultures. But the point is subsidization of food in America for corporate, the Green New Deal, has been the most destructive force, not in just that region, but across the planet, because of subsidization, reducing the cost of the actual production in America, and of course technology and so on, and huge areas of flat land. But just by doing that, we have destroyed so much. We are driving the extinction rate because of that subsidization of corn and sugar and whatever. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I'm like, no, what are you doing? And of course, I got into a bit of an argument with the owner of the ships. And I said, these trade agreements, and this is the biggest problem that we're facing. And of course, I lost my job. So, yeah, you can't argue with the people, the yacht owners, because they generally are the owners of corporations. And all right, so Neil, are you still there? Do you want to put in anything? I've got tons and tons that I can go on, but I think this meeting's gone on for an hour, and so we're basically going to have to do it again next week. There's so much more, that incredible stuff that we can talk about. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Wow, it's been a pleasure. It's been absolutely incredible. And just one thing, the biggest thing that we can do right now is spread the word about this group, and let's start growing it. Because if we can do that, we expand the conversation, and then the conversation expands outwards. And it's really, the importance is opening the minds, the hearts and minds of people. That is the critical key to changing the way we think and the way we behave in our world. So if you can talk to your friends, that is the best thing you can do. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, yeah, thanks so much, Diane. Thanks, Brendan. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Neil.
Bye.
Thanks, Curt. Bye.